navigating market volatility and AI opportunities, insights from global business leaders. We're bringing together a very special episode of Biz Bites with a panel, yes, a panel of experts, of thought leaders from across the globe, sharing their unique perspectives on the current state of the market, the impact of AI, and the opportunities that lie ahead. You don't want to miss this episode because there is lots of valuable insights about things like AI, the way businesses can adapt to the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead from a myriad of different perspectives. If you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, then you don't want to miss this episode of Biz Bites. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Biz Bites, proudly brought to you by ComTogether, the people behind podcasts done for you, because we're all about exposing other people's brilliance. Don't forget to subscribe to Biz Bites and check out Podcasts Done For You as well in the show notes. Now, let's get into it. Well, hello everyone and welcome to a very special episode of Biz Bites. I have an extraordinary group of people joining me today, and I think the best thing we can do to kick things off is to go around and let everyone introduce themselves. And I have asked everyone to come up with one word that is going to sum up how they view the state of the market at the moment, wherever they're at and whatever industry they're in. So we're going to kick things off and go around the room. We're going to start off really from the top of the screen for me, and we're going to kick things off with Murray.
Yeah, hello there, Anthony. Murray Fulton. I'm a business advisory partner with Advantage Business, working out of New Zealand. My one-word summary of 2025 and possibly beyond, but certainly this year, is volatility.
All right, very nice. Evan.
Hey, Anthony, thanks for having me on. I'm Evan Chelsea, Managing Director of Ubity. One word for the market for me is surprises.
Surprises. Okay, I like it. Graham, what about you?
Hi, Graham Scott, also New Zealand, based in Cambridge. Consultant, reformed accountant. My word for the market is flat.
Flat. Okay. Ben, what about you?
Ben Paul, CEO of the BD Ladder, business development and marketing consultancy based here in Auckland, work across New Zealand and Australia, obviously originally from London. My one-word summary would be recovering.
Okay, all right. Sarah, what about you? What's your...
Hi, Anthony, thanks. I'm Sarah Runga. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a Kiwi SaaS company, Oconet, that delivers pre-built, data-driven enterprise architecture SaaS to mid-size organisations. My one word for the market at the moment is sluggish.
Sluggish, okay. Very interesting. All right, Warren, what about you?
Yeah, good morning, Anthony. I'm Warren Strobish. I'm an accountant, a financial planner, so run my own practices and also lead up the not-for-profit called the Fine Foundation here in Australia. My one word for the markets at the moment would be cautious.
Cautious, okay. Martin, what about you?
Hi, everyone. Martin Erasmussen, founder of consulting company Stratson Limited. Consider myself an information entrepreneur. I think the one word, if I can join them together, is deep uncertainty.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we'll give you that. 2 words, but one. Igor, what about you?
Hi, I'm Igor Portugal. I'm a fractional chief of growth, working across a number of businesses in cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and cloud, private cloud and hybrid cloud provider. My one word for the market is opportunity. We live in unprecedented technological change times, and I can see opportunities everywhere, and that's my specialty, is to find an opportunity, whether you're a business implementing technology or whether you're a business trying to build technology solutions for the market.
Okay, we're going to come back to that. Amanda, what about you?
I'm in the US at the moment. here as well, other things. But I'm usually based in Australia and in the creative arts and health industries. And I've been working in those industries for a number of years and provide some services to a lot of people.
All right. Well, I think it's really interesting to get those little introductory snapshot of where you see the market, because we've gone from everything from volatile and sluggish right through to opportunity and dynamic. And what I wanted to start the discussion is really around what might be causing that, and really throw in a little bit for some people, because I did a similar forum last year, which we didn't broadcast on Biz Bites, but the word that came back was almost consistently was overwhelm, and a lot of it was driven by the very steep incline as far as AI is concerned, with people feeling like they needed to jump on the bandwagon, but really not sure where to start and what difference it was making. So I'm intrigued that where people are at. I know we've got a collection of people, some that are in the technology space and others that are not. So I'm intrigued as to what has driven you in terms of the way you see the market, and whether you feel that AI is having any impact at all on that, and tying us back a little bit to what you see happening at the moment. So let's just go back around. And Murray, if I can kick off with you, where do you see, I think you talked about it being sluggish and things at the moment. So where do you see the big impacts?
Yeah, my word, Anthony, was volatility. But in terms of AI, I feel that, first of all, AI is an undeniable element. It is probably has been written about consistently and fairly deeply, a little bit like another industrial age. Whilst it cannot be ignored, and there's quite an eclectic group of people here today, just speaking in terms of possibly some of the work that I do and the businesses that I see, there's a little bit of competition between HI, human intelligence, and AI. And some people in possibly the IT world feel we're heading towards the singularity, where it would be a biological boot for robots, but I don't purport to that. I think the key thing is AI is growing fast. Anyone who says they're an expert in it is possibly lying, but it's moving so fast. And it's moving through the markets in terms of automation. The so-called higher functions of humans around judgment, EI, etc., and authenticity of voice are still relevant and hopefully will be. So that's my attempt at summarising a massive seismic shift over to everybody else.
Hence, perhaps some of the volatility that we're seeing. Evan, what about you? Is AI having an impact? We hope you're enjoying listening to the Biz Bites podcast. Have you ever thought about having your own podcast, one for your business, where your brilliance is exposed to the rest of the world? Well, come talk to us at Podcasts Done For You. That's what we're all about. We even offer a service where I'll anchor the program for you. So all you have to do is show up for a conversation. But don't worry about that. We will do everything to design a program that suits you, from the strategy right through to publishing, and of course helping you share it. So come talk to us, podcastdoneforyou.com.au, details in the show notes below. Now back to Biz Bites. Hence perhaps some of the volatility that we're seeing. Evan, what about you? Is AI having an impact?
Yeah, look, I think the thing about AI is it's had an impact for quite a long time, and I think it's having an impact on people's mind share, but not having an impact on the business yet. So at the end of last year, me and the director of data science at Walmart USA wrote a book called Why Data Science Project Fails. And the purpose of this book was really to temper the hype, because I think the hype is doing AI a disservice and making it feel like it can do more than it can. As impressive as tools like ChatGPT are, we're yet to see the impact on the bottom line. And Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, came out this week to say effectively the same thing. So I think there's some more incremental improvements we'll see across businesses. I don't think will fundamentally reshape necessarily how large businesses work. It will have an impact, but perhaps not as big as people think.
I definitely want to come back to some of those topics because I think that there are certainly some impacts that are happening on business in terms of energy costs, because we know that AI, the cost of running AI from an energy point of view is between 7 and 10-fold of what current usage is. So that's going to have an impact on business as well. But also I've seen, I'm interested in other people's opinions along the way, that people in some businesses, they're able to replace team members with AI. However, they now created new roles to manage the AI. So it's almost balanced itself out. There's different jobs being created at the, while new ones, as some of the old ones are disappearing. Graham, just coming across to you, what's driving your word?
The people I'm talking to, clients, just people in the street, are saying that, the world's fairly flat at the moment. We're having interest rates coming down in this country, which is usually when the economy takes off again. But then it also feels like there's a lot of people hanging on and waiting for them to go even lower. So there's uncertainty, and so that's what's driving it. As far as AI goes, I think there's a lot of people out there, including myself to a certain extent, who can see it's going to have a big impact, but just don't know where it's heading, what difference it's going to make. I see people doing some really amazing things with it and think, oh, that's cool, but using it myself, where to apply it. At the moment, I've been using it as a very keen intern to go and do research, but there's got to be a whole lot more that it should be doing for me.
All right, very interesting. Ben, over to you. What's your assumption of things at the moment?
So my word was recovering, and I think that's what I'm seeing in the market right now. Obviously, globally, we went through quite a big recession. What's really interesting about that, having worked in London during the GFC and then come over here to New Zealand, this part of the world, is actually that didn't really hit here as hard as it hit globally. So for this part of the world, Australia, New Zealand, it's probably the first time we've had a global recession that's hit us and hurt us hard and hurt most of our industries. So there's an element where people were trying to cut costs, do the stuff that your accountant would tell you to do, all those really smart stuff, but at the expense of, the field I work in, business development and marketing, they're kind of, but we all know from the GFC, if you do best practice, if you actually invest in your outward reach there, you're going to grow much better on the upside. But we panic and we have to look at the bottom line, and businesses do what businesses do, and that's very, very understandable. So it's starting to recover. I'm seeing more people being interested in what I'm doing. I'm seeing more people going out in the market. And look, AI expedites that. It's the best junior copywriter you'll ever have. It gives you data you want. It's very easy to play with in the BD and marketing space. But as was touched upon earlier by the first person who spoke, it's unauthentic, and actually machines don't like machine-produced content. So how you use and adapt the tool will, in any walk of life, whether it's BD and marketing, the field that I sit in, or any other thing, will make it really authentic and make that business grow. So it's how you use the tool, how you implement it, and what people behind it use the smarts.
I totally agree with you. It's one of the reasons why I love podcasting so much, because there's no doubting the authenticity of that, and being able to trade stories with one another and share your own personal experiences is something that AI can't do, because they're not you. Sarah, what about you?
Okay, there. Sorry. So what I'm seeing at the moment is there's with AI coming into the market, it's not creating more opportunities for where we're going with our product. It's probably creating more disruption, and I'm finding that particularly in New Zealand, and we're here at the moment, that people are just leaders and CXOs are really bogged down with trying to get transformation projects, getting AI. They're trying to get everything done, and there's no time for them to bring their head up, to take a breath, to plan better for digital transformation. I just see that AI has brought in another complexity and another boardroom discussion about we need we need to be AI driven. We need AI in sales. We need AI in marketing. We need AI in whatever. And, that's all fine, but it's not opening the doors for us to bring in the automation, efficiencies, and cost realisation. So I don't feel it's doing us any favours. However, I am in favour of it.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think one of the big frustrations that I have as far as AI is concerned is when a lot of people post on LinkedIn, supposedly as thought leaders in the way that they're doing it, and they're just taking the content from an AI tool and posting that, which sort of seems self-defeating to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And, at the moment, when you can't use AI content for you can't use it for putting on a resume, you can't put it into a research thesis, you can't use it for a lot of things. So businesses trying to use it, but again, it's still hallucinating.
Absolutely. Well, we're up to you, Warren. So, Warren, if you want to pick up that discussion on your word in AI.
Yes, I mean, my word around caution is because I deal with a lot of retirees and people in aged care, and so I manage a lot of people's portfolios to do with investments. So from that perspective, I'm cautious because of what's happening over in America and around the world in that regard. And so we've had as one of the other speakers said, in Australia we haven't been as affected so much in the past, but it's going to get interesting to see what happens now, given all the legislation changes and things that have occurred in Australia. So I am a bit more cautious in regards to where things are going to be going from an investment perspective. With AI, though, I'm like an SME, small business, running an accounting firm and a financial planning firm. And so it's really interesting because there's obviously been a lot of discussion around AI, even in our industries, but the take-up of it, I would say, would be quite small, and some people are really trying to use it a lot. But in regards to how we deal with people, we're client facing all the time, and so to try and bring AI in is limited, I would say, because people want to have that empathy and that interaction and that discussion with a real person. And so whilst AI is fantastic and it looks like it will be a game changer, and it has been in certain industries, it's probably a slower take up in our industries when you're dealing with client facing people all the time in that regard. And we're so busy here in Australia, we've lost in the financial planning industry half the financial planners in the last 5 years, and accounting work, tax returns, that never stops. And so you just don't have the time, and I have a lot of staff, and so for me, I wouldn't even have the time to be looking at AI. I'd have to hire someone else, as they were talking about, who would actually have to do the AI and try and say, how can we add value to our clients and our businesses? But it wouldn't be me doing it because I wouldn't have the time to do it. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that at the moment. I think there's a lot of people who are dabbling and not really utilising it, and it's going to be interesting to see how that progresses. And of course, as I think someone alluded to earlier on, AI has got a major uptick in the past 12 months. But it has been around for a while. I know there are certain, for the legal profession I know I was dealing with a number of years ago, have had an AI-based tool for a long time, helping particularly people who are outside of the major city areas, to help those lawyers provide information on specific areas of expertise that they don't have, so they can then help in referring people who may not be able to drop down the road and see a specialist. And I think those kinds of things are definitely very worthwhile, but they're not completely new. But it just seems to be that we've got this huge hype because of ChatGPT in particular. Igor, let's come to you, because I know you've got a unique perspective. So I should tell everyone that as well that I've actually recorded a podcast with Igor about his upcoming book, which is going to be very, very interesting. But Igor, you talked about opportunity. So tell me a little bit more about why you're seeing opportunity.
Absolutely. So I sort of like to start and come back to this whole topic of AI, and a little bit of a different perspective on it. I personally believe that the I in AI, the intelligence, is a very misleading word. I don't believe there's anything intelligent about AI, It's just a better way of organizing data and a much smarter technology to use and implement. And in that way, I have lived through a number of technological acceleration points in our in IT industry, and I've lived through a number of the low points where the industry went down either through economic turbulence or the industry turbulence. So, for example, through the a lot of it feels like a bit of a dot-com era where lots of companies were popping up building online interfaces, and then they flopped, then the whole industry collapsed and everybody was running for the hills saying this is all vaporware and it doesn't help anyone. And look at us now, 20 years later, pretty much every business is interfacing with their customers via some form of an online or an app. There was a very similar hype cycle through the mobile technology where it came in. And to me, AI feels very similar. There's a lot of things AI can do. What we need to do now as an industry is find the actual practical uses for businesses. Now, I agree with a statement that potentially it's not going to change a lot of the ways that the large corporates operate. That's probably true, but what it will bring is a lot of new disruption and new disruptive businesses and business models that are going to come in and disrupt the way our industry operates. And so for me, I can see a lot of opportunity for both the technologists and the business entrepreneurs is to find these disruptive business models that will enable new revenue generation. I absolutely don't believe that AI is going to be eating our jobs and leaving swathes of unemployed people. In fact, I authored a thesis that shows that AI will eventually lead us to full employment. And can talk about that at length. So I do think that looking at the technological trends and what AI enables, it's going to enable everyone to be a productive contributor to our global economy. But we are living through recessionary times. And these recessionary times have nothing to do with technology and everything to do with the global political environment. And unfortunately, what that does, and it always does, and it was the same through GFC, is it actually slows down the adoption of new technologies. And that is just a matter of life. That's just a fact of life. But despite that, I see a lot of opportunity that this new technology brings for us to disrupt the market, create new business models, find new ways to make money. And I think that's what, I can see a lot of people on this podcast. I firmly believe you guys are going to be in that vein.
Fantastic. Thank you, Igor. I really love that perspective as well. And I'm fascinated by that idea that it'll bring full employment, but it will take a bit of time to get there. Amanda, I just wanted to come back to you. I love the fact that you've got fairly unique perspective here because you're dealing with small business, but you're also in the creative space. You're normally in Australia, you're in the US, so you're giving a bit of a global perspective here. So give us your insights.
Yeah, absolutely. We've recently I've been working on a production here in the US, and we've been using AI, particularly in the art space. I have worked with an artist and he's been using AI, and we've certainly discovered its limitations as well as its abilities. And there, as a writer and an author as well, I find the scripts, you won't be able to write scripts from AI. It has no soul because, as has been previously mentioned, it's still learning. It can only provide what we put in. So it always comes back to that human input and that human soul, and the storytelling, as you mentioned, Anthony, is so important to us. And to take that and try and replace the creative space and the creative arts and film, TV, or whatever we're doing when we're telling stories with just an AI perspective is us short as as and also selling each other short in the sense of what gifts and talents and vibrancy we bring as people to the space. I think it's a great tool for research, organising data, helping you sort things out and those sorts of things. AI is brilliant for that. And also writing, if you're a budding author or something, generate some writing prompts with AI, but write your own story. And there's many opportunities, but yeah, can't replace humans.
No, and I'm going to bring you in, Evan, here as well. Just coming back to some of your points, but I think personally, I look at it and I say, actually, I think there's an opportunity for the creative space to absolutely thrive, because that's the area that AI won't be able to do, at least not to the same extent that a human can. But Evan, I know you've been, as you were saying, you were talking particularly to some of the bigger chains in the US, and you've written a book around this kind of space. So tell us a little bit more about what we're likely to see, I should say, in the coming months and years.
Look, I think we're just going to be surprised. It's one of those things where Douglas Hofstadter wrote the book Gödel, Escher, Bach in I think the 70s or the 80s, where he said AI will never be able to beat people in chess, because chess is effectively a creative activity. And then lo and behold, at the end of the 90s, IBM had a system that beat the world champion at chess. Similarly, in the art space, although we think AI may not be able to do it, we saw last year that at the Colorado State Fair, Jason Allen entered an AI-generated artwork called Theatre d'Opera Spéciale and won. So it was an incredible work of art. But to think that it was just purely AI-generated is a mistake. What happened there was Jason spent a lot of time prompting, working on this, adding a lot of human input, and the AI was kind of the support, which is largely no different to a lot of things that have happened in the past. I'm not sure how much people know about when photography came in, but effectively painters said, this is wrong. This is not art. Photography has got no element of the human within it, so it can never be considered an art form. And yet nowadays, National Geographic and many others consider it a significant art form. So I think we're just going to continue to be surprised. It's hard to predict what AI can do. And I'm talking generally, not just natural language processing, but also image generative AI, as well as business uses of AI with machine learning, statistics, and optimization, that I think we're just going to keep being surprised. And the reason why we're going to be surprised is because of human ingenuity behind the scenes, exactly to the previous point, that'll keep coming up with new things that just will take us by surprise and do things that we didn't think were possible.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And Ben, I wanted to bring you in as well here, because you're in the business development space as part of it, and it's like where are people looking to go? I mean, how is this being utilized? Is it as being suggested as a support? Is it being feared? What's the perception that you're getting?
Well, if you think on the sales side, who has received or seen an upturn in the amount of sales and cold emails they've received in the last 6 months? And the answer is huge. Who has seen a downturn in the quality of those emails? It's everyone again. So just because the machine can produce a good sales script or a good sales email doesn't mean you should send it. But what it can do is speed up and expedite the process and provide a crutch, as was just said. So if you're struggling, if you haven't had your caffeine, if you don't know what you want to say, you can use it that way. It's now been inbuilt into some leading CRM platforms to help say, hey, you haven't spoken to this client for 2 months. Here's what we suggest you should send. But no, suggest what you should send. And that's how you should use AI. Use it to give you the structure, give you the formula, and then put in your own personal touch, the own human touch. People still buy from people. All buying decisions are made on an emotional level, not a factual level at some point. Yes, there's facts underpinning it, but we buy on emotion. You have to understand that, use that, and play to it. But if you're not using AI, small business, large business, in some way to speed up the process and help you drive forward, then you're missing a trick, because it can really, really speed you up.
And sales is certainly an interesting space. I had a guest on the Biz Bites podcast earlier this year, John Dwyer, who is a direct marketing specialist, and he's generating lots of interest for clients, as direct marketers do. And now he's putting an AI on the back of it to help with follow-up calls and closing some sales. So it's interesting what they can do in terms of particularly the audio-based sales, but I think it's about closing things where a lot of the work has already been done before that. So it will be interesting to see how that progresses. I didn't want to just get stuck on AI. I wanted to move around a little bit. And Murray, I might come back to you as well in terms of other things outside of AI that you're seeing in the market, and where perhaps there might be some opportunities if we can bring it back to that, because I know that the feeling might be that it's a little bit volatile and flat at the moment in some cases. But is that presenting opportunities in other areas?
Absolutely. The word volatility, if we come back to a Chinese saying, which is there are two components to change, because ultimately volatility is change. One is danger, the other is opportunity. So a lot of this is a mindset. It's impossible for me to say to sum up any particular market, but my view in terms of the work that I do and my colleagues and networks offshore, the political seismic shifts we've got at the moment are pretty much the largest since World War II, to put it in a nutshell. And then that is going to mean anyone, for example, in business, and I'll only talk about business for a moment, which is really just for succinct nature. All businesses need to be extremely agile, and then you get into obviously quality of leadership and management, etc. But to keep it at a high level, there is danger and there is opportunity. AI, I certainly agree with some of the comments that have been made around the human element. One thing I would say there is that's probably what the Neanderthals thought many hundreds of thousands of years ago before they were taken over by Homo sapiens. So we might all on this call be a little bit smug. We may not. The future will tell. But right now, day to day, week to week, month to month, the businesses that I work with and through my network, they are ensuring that their ability to respond is there. And sometimes the seas are quite calm with a moderate swell, and all of a sudden a storm will come up. And there is a gentleman in the US who is certainly shaking things up at quite a pace. And he is part of a very large economy and a very powerful economy. And we're in a connected world. And so agility is probably after volatility.
I can definitely empathise with that. I mean, Graham, what about you? Is that something that you're seeing as well?
Probably not seeing enough of it. The people I'm working with, absolutely, there's opportunity, and the people who haven't cut their marketing and advertising spending, the people who have invested in learning these new technologies, they're going to hit the ground running. I've got a farm consultant that I do some work with. He has a saying that the difference between a good farmer and a bad farmer is 2 weeks. And it's just that reacting a little bit earlier, putting your fertiliser on, drying the cows off, doing whatever it is, makes all the difference. And I think that analogy applies to business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it does. And it's interesting that, coming back to that kind of volatility is an interesting conundrum for businesses that I think are perhaps not used to that. Warren, I mean, is that something that you're seeing as well? I know you're in the not-for-profit sector as well. Is this going across?
I actually think, even though I've been cautious in the sense of what we do from the investment perspective, but I also agree there's a lot of opportunity, and I think it's how you see the world, as an individual, as to how you're going to perceive what opportunities are available to you. I mean, I have an office in the Philippines, not Manila, but there's a lot of opportunity over there in developing countries. There's lot of opportunity here in Australia. There's just so much change that's occurring, and I think if you're looking at an industry and going, okay, there's a change there, and you have that perspective of what can I add value to that, or what's a need that might be occurring or might be coming along, there is an opportunity that is available to you. I mean, even for myself, where ironically, even though I already do accounting, financial planning, and run a non-for-profit, we're about to launch 2 other businesses, and one is in the healthcare space, and another is to do with the fundraising. And so, and that's only because of opportunities that's presented themselves that, we're going to take that opportunity and see what happens with it. And it could be really good or it might not be, but it's taking that chance and doing something with it. So I think I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunity in regards to what's happening at the moment, even though a lot of people might be a bit more pessimistic. So,
yes. Martin, what about you?
Hey, Anthony, 2 pence for me. Yeah, it might only be a halfpenny. Who knows? It might be 2 pence worth, but yeah, really interesting. I'm finding I'm a bit with Igor actually, in that I think it's going. Harking back to AI. Almost certainly, it's going to have an impact. But all it is now, I think, for leaders and business people thinking about investment, it's just another addition to an already deeply uncertain future. And Warren mentioned about the geopolitics situation, global geopolitics and uncertainty, particularly coming out of the US. We've had COVID, we had the supply chain issues around that. And I hear a lot of organisations say, "Oh, we're just wanting to get back to normal," and you go, "What?" Because they, from an information architect, so I think about it from that information supply chain perspective, and the thinking, we've come from a rational decision-making environment, where everything's strong cause and effect relationships, so you can make decisions. But I wrote a blog, an article about this called ICT, Information Communication Technology, Commitment Creep and Organisational Schizophrenia. So basically, schizophrenia sufferers have a sensory gating deficit. So basically, everything from their senses arrives on their plate all at once. So they just get overwhelmed. And I think it turns out that most organisations, because their information infrastructure is so poor, they don't have those gating mechanisms to sort out what can we ignore and what do we actually need to pay our attention to. And as it turns out, it sounded like initially I wrote off artificial intelligence, I think that's an area where it has tremendous potential, as in whether it's internally or externally. Here's a bunch of factors that might potentially affect our business, and cut everything else out and just land those on my plate, 5 bullet points a day, you can count on one hand, and that might help.
Yeah, I think that absolutely. I mean, I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's using it in the right way, as we talked about, and I think it's interesting that everyone's talking about opportunities. And I might just bring you back, Sarah, in here, because you've been in the technology space anyway. How is it in terms of opportunities that are presenting itself to the market? Are they growing the use of it? Are you seeing existing customers just increasing their use, or is it about new people coming in? What are you seeing that's happening as far as, and is there opportunities that are being created?
So what I'm seeing at the moment is there's with AI coming into the market, it's not creating more opportunities for where we're going with our product. It's probably creating more disruption, and I'm finding that particularly in New Zealand, and we're here at the moment, that people are just leaders and CXOs are really bogged down with trying to get transformation projects, getting AI. They're trying to get everything done, and there's no time for them to bring their head up to take a breath, to plan to plan better for digital transformation. I just see that AI has brought in another complexity and another boardroom discussion about we need to be AI driven. We need AI in sales. We need AI in marketing. We need AI in whatever. And, that's all fine, but it's not opening the doors for us to bring in the automation, efficiencies, and cost realisation. So I don't feel it's doing us any favours. However, I am in favour of it.
Okay. Well, look, I know we're coming up to finishing up the episode, but I just wanted to finish up with you, Evan, and just I'm fascinated as well by this difference between whether small business or medium business, in fact, versus larger business in terms of capitalizing on opportunities that we're seeing, and whether that is AI and uptake on that, or whether it's other opportunities in the market. Who's leading the way at the moment? Because traditionally it has been big business, but I get the sense that that may not be the case anymore.
In terms of the development of the tools, it's clearly those that have got the funds and the resources, like your OpenAI and Anthropic and people like that. But in terms of the use cases, I love it. It's small businesses all the way. And that's because small businesses aren't burdened down by policies and procedures that stop them from experimenting. I think we see some of the best use cases where people are just blending it into all parts of their workflow to understand where can it work best. And small businesses have that capability. In fact, some of the businesses where I see the biggest impact is on small businesses that are helping them routinize maybe the creation of templates and policies and things that get that first draft out the door, do that research they need to do where you don't have a big team to help you. So I really see small businesses as the winner of this first or this new generation of large language models.
Fantastic. I think that's a great way to finish up this particular episode of the podcast. I want to thank all of you so much for being a part of the program. It's wonderful to have so many thought leaders in so many different spaces from all over the place. We've covered Australia, New Zealand and the US. And I think it's wonderful to have all of those various different insights. And thank you so much for being a part of the Biz Bites Forum. Hey, thanks for listening to Biz Bites. We hope you enjoyed the program. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Biz Bites is proudly brought to you by Podcasts Done For You, the service where we will deliver a podcast for you and expose your brilliance to the world. Contact us today for more information. Details in the show notes. We look forward to your company next time on Biz Bites.